Welcome. I will be your host for the next 90 minutes. My name is Simone Seisel. I work for the global non-profit Textile Exchange. I also am a consultant for sustainability in fashion, but Textile Exchange, a 17-year-old non-profit, is focusing on exactly the same aims. We want to transform the fashion industry to increase best practice with regards to preferred fiber and materials, standards and integrity, awareness, but also collaboration. So working on achieving together what no organization can achieve alone. And this is what we also want to do today. So we will have a keynote from one of the experts of the sector, and then we will have an expert group coming on stage with 5 wonderful experts, and we will cover a lot in that hour. And we also give you the opportunity to raise questions, of course. Let me first introduce you to Tricia Carey from Lenzing. She is Director of Business Development Denim at Lenzing Fibers, based in New York. Tricia, you've been with Lenzing for over 20 years. May I say that?
Yes, it's a little hard to believe how much the time has gone by so quickly. But yeah, it's 20 years of business development with Tencel, because I started on the Quartal side. But you know, it's ever changing, and each year there's always new opportunities. So it's very exciting.
And thinking of these 20 years and these dynamics in the market, and I guess the journey within Lenzing, but also within the denim world you experienced, it's so impressive in both senses, I guess. And we will hear more now from you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and certainly the interest in sustainability that has grown over the years. I often say at different presentations that when I first started, no one was really interested in sustainability, and it was just a small bit of information that we added at the end of a presentation, and we hoped that no one would tell us or ask us too many questions about sustainability or trees and wood pulp. But now it's really the forefront of everything we do. So I appreciate the invitation to be here today, and thank you, Simone, for the introduction. So in the presentation today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lenzing, if you don't know about our organization, and then talk about the state of denim today, and look at the past, where we are now in the present, and some questions about maybe where we need to go in the future. So a little bit more about myself. As Simone said, I handle global business development for denim at Lenzing. I am based in New York City, and you know, it's great because I get to travel to lots of wonderful places. And this is actually my first time in Berlin. So beautiful city, and great, all of the creativity and inspiration that I see here in Berlin. So a little bit then about Lenzing. How many of you know Lenzing Group? You know? Okay, good. So you have some I know you know very well. So a little bit of background about Lenzing for those of you who don't know. So Lenzing is a $2.2 billion company. We're based in Austria, in Lenzing, Austria, so not far from Salzburg. And what we do is we convert wood into fiber. So we make 1 million tons of this fiber. And we have about 6,500 employees. We sell our fiber into a variety of different markets, so not just in apparel. And I always think it's very interesting in the work I do. I work directly with retailers and brands throughout the world to promote the use of our fibers, that they understand the benefits, that they know what they can call out about it, where they can source our fiber. And you know, there's lots of other end applications for our fibers. One of them is in non-woven applications. We see an increase in that. And in walking around the show yesterday, I saw a lot of information around not using plastic in packaging. So this is an area that we're actually working in with our fibers in packaging products. So when you buy organic fruits and vegetables in Europe, they are more than likely packaged in the netting that is made out of Tencel modal fiber. And there we can make a colored fiber. So instead of having your organic fruits and vegetables wrapped in plastic, you're actually able to have them wrapped in a fiber coming from nature that is also compostable and biodegradable. So this is just an example of another end application. Another area in the market that we see a lot of growth is in shoes. So I don't know how many of you know Allbirds. It's a shoe company out of San Francisco. I know they have a store in London. They're really one of these hot new companies, direct to consumer, and a couple of retail stores. And they are actually using Tencel in the shoe upper. And so this is another application where I think the industry is looking at alternatives because we need to develop with more sustainable materials. So the product portfolio that Lenzing produces is viscose, modal, and lyocell. Our brand name is Tencel. So this is our headquarters in Lenzing, Austria. I always love showing this picture because you can see exactly where we come from and why sustainability and nature is so important to us. We're in the middle of the lake region, very close to the Attersee Lake, which you see there on the top left-hand side. And you can see just the size of our headquarters. And this is where we have, it's over 2,000 people that work at our headquarters in Austria. So amazing over the past couple of years how many tours we have and this level of transparency. We have more brands that want to come to actually see how we manufacture the fiber and how we transform from tree into fiber. This facility is quite unique because it is an integrated site. So we actually make the wood pulp here as well as the fibers. And then just to give you a highlight, because I always get asked this question, well, where are your production facilities? So we do make viscose and we make our modal fibers. We have our headquarters in Austria where we make all of our fibers. And then in Indonesia and in China, we make viscose only. So that's for our Asia business. And of course, we're shipping fibers all around the world. And then our Tencel lyocell fibers, we have 4 production facilities. So we do have a plant in the United States in Mobile, Alabama. And that was actually the first production facility where we manufactured Tencel lyocell in 1992. And then we have the facility in the UK in Grimsby, and we have the 2 sites in Austria where we manufacture Tencel lyocell. So our goal as a company is to continue to expand in our production of Tencel lyocell because it is using a closed loop production process. So last week, if any of you saw on the news, we announced that we're building the largest Tencel lyocell facility. This will be in Thailand, and this will be over 100,000 tons of Tencel lyocell. So this expansion because of the demand that we see in the market. We also manufacture our own pulp. So we have 2 pulp facilities. We have our headquarters in Austria and also in the Czech Republic. And this is important because you need to look at the raw materials and the backwards integration that we also have as an organization. So just a sense of where we manufacture our pulp, because another commonly asked question I get is about where we have our materials and what kind of trees we use. So we do use certified and controlled wood pulp, that is FSC or PEFC. So we do have all the certifications behind that. We have a global pulp policy. So wherever you're buying fibers from any of our facilities, they all have those certifications. So that's a little bit about Lenzing. To give you an overview of the fiber market, and I always like this slide because I think, we're sitting here, we're in the apparel world, but it's much larger in how we need to look at fibers. And I think now we are questioning more about the raw materials and what's being used. And so if you look at all of the fibers that are being produced, not just going into apparel, but also going into nonwovens and technical textiles, it's 106 million tons of fiber. This is an approximate. And of that 106 million tons of fiber, 60% is synthetic fiber. So polyester, your nylon, and so again, just to have a sense of where all the fibers fit in this whole pie, about 25% is cotton, And man-made cellulosics, which is the category of viscose, modal, and lyocell, is about 6% of the total fibers that's being produced. So I think, when we talk about some of the challenges that are happening around sustainability, we need to also look at how this pie might shift in the future. When we talk about microplastics and marine pollution, if we have any adjustments to the amount of synthetics that are being used, what other fibers will be used in the future? So it's just something to keep in mind. And I think also then you can frame the size and scope of the industry and the market. Now, to touch on denim today, because that's why we're here. We're all lovers of denim. Denim is a unique product. I see it as a mix between an art, because you can craft denim in such a way that you can't with other textiles. I also see denim very much as an expression of the times and the democracy that exists. So for denim today, the overall industry is about $60 billion US. So this is information that I have from Euromonitor. Personally, I think the denim industry is a little bit larger than that from a volume standpoint. I think it might be closer to about 80 billion, but you have a sense of the size. And here it depends on what your definition of denim is. So is the definition of denim just a 5-pocket or a jean? What about jackets? What about dresses? So that's where I see some variance in this number. But to frame it, does anybody have an idea of how large the music industry is? The music industry is actually a $43 billion industry. So again, to frame this in a way that actually the denim industry is larger than the music industry. Now you think of how much you're listening to music and how much it's changed with iTunes and everything else, but the denim industry is still larger. The denim industry uses 2 million tons of cotton. So I said that there's about 106 million tons of fiber, 2 million tons of cotton is going into the denim industry. We have the main production regions being China, Pakistan, India, Brazil, Turkey, Mexico, and Bangladesh. From where I sit in the United States and some of the brands that I'm working with, I do see a shift happening now in the market, especially with all the trade challenges that Trump has been presenting in the market. Certainly see some shifts going around and movement out of China and into other regions in Southeast Asia. And we see the main consumption regions being US, Europe, China, and Japan. I would say we're also seeing India picking up within this too from a consumption standpoint. Consumers are most concerned about fit when purchasing denim. So about 42% of consumers say that's their main reason in purchasing denim. And most recently, there was a report from McKinsey that I thought was interesting because now we are starting to see where sustainability is becoming a part of the decision-making process. So about 66% of consumers are willing to pay more for sustainable goods. So now the other question I have off of that is, what do they consider to be sustainable goods? And that's probably a whole other debate that we could continue on for hours. But this is just to give you a sense and to frame a little bit about the denim market today. So in order to kind of put together what's happened in denim, we also have to look at the past of denim, because the past has really brought us to the point where we are today in denim. And when we look at the past in denim, there was a historical strict definition around denim. And that definition is about a cotton warp, it's about a twill fabric, it's about a 5-pocket jean that this fabric is being used in with an indigo dyeing process. And we might have even seen looks like this from the 1970s. I don't know, maybe the styles have changed a little bit, definitely the shoes and the hairdos for sure. But when we look back, we see this influence that we have. And we also had dominant brands that existed in the denim market. And those were Levi's, Lee, and Wrangler. And I think if you watch the evolution of these brands, especially over the past 2 decades, the changes that have happened in the market. to where we are today, that we have so many brands and we have very much an ease of entry into the denim market. Where denim has really come a long way is definitely in the finishing. The old methods of shrink to fit, with people wearing their jeans into the ocean in order to get the right fit. Well, now we have so much more in technology that can provide us with the right fit and endless finishes. Because denim really has come a long way from these basic styles. Certainly a little bit of flair going on there with the jeans, with the buttons. But overall, I think when we look at how technology has come together with denim and the improvements that have happened over the past several years. In the 1990s, we saw the introduction of Tencel into denim. And when Tencel lyocell first came into the market in 1992, it took a while for that acceptance, and it went into this category of a soft denim because the influence of comfort coming into the market. And we saw around 2000 the introduction of the Levi's engineered jean, where we saw, I have 2 minutes, thank you. A Levi's engineered jean where we saw changes happening here, not only in the silhouette, but also in the fiber. And in around 2005, we saw the introduction of the premium denim market. The premium denim market, happening a lot with the LA brands, but also what was happening here in Europe. And overall, the global reach for denim, we saw this coming into play as trade opened up more, and we saw with China becoming more of a player as well for production of denim. To now we are at the modern definition of denim, where denim doesn't have the rules that we saw in the past. And denim today doesn't have to be woven, it doesn't have to be indigo dyed, it can be using a variety of different fibers, it can be a variety of different fabric weights, and we know the added value of laundry garment processing. So the modern definition of denim can look something like this, where again, you don't have to have a 5-pocket jean. It could be a dress. It could even be black denim. I wanted to share this picture with you because to me this represents what's happening in today's world. And I have a 19-year-old daughter who I learned so much from, and she sent this picture to me. And I thought it really expresses what's happening, because this is what young people are seeing, because she learns everything from Instagram. And we see here the impact that we have on nature, on consumption, on water, on land, just in this one picture. And we know that this is where we're starting at now, and we need to make changes. So in today's world, we know that the next generation is being very vocal. The millennials, the Gen Z, they're having protests, they're raising the awareness, they're having, stand-ins in school in order to raise their voice around their opinion around sustainability. But we also see the issues around plastic pollution. And these are all clips that I just took from Instagram, because again, this is how people are sharing information. And we know this mass amount of plastic that we have to deal with. So we do see bans happening on plastic around the world. And I know that Europe is actually a bit ahead of the US on banning plastic. But we also see, and this is being one of the themes for the show here, is around what's happening with water consumption and water that's being used to manufacture garments, whether it's t-shirts or jeans. And we also see solutions coming into the market. And Genealogia, who will be a part of the panel next, has done some amazing work and the technology behind water savings that they've developed as a company. But overall, we know it's this consumption, and this will be a part of our discussion later, because the most sustainable garment is the one that you already have in your wardrobe. And how long are we as consumers keeping garments in our wardrobes? And have we just been conditioned through fast fashion to dispose of things and to buy the next product in the next season? We see an increase in recycling, reselling, and reusing. And this is something that we'll touch on in our discussion later on. And the circular economy is becoming more of a topic in how can we keep materials in use longer in the supply chain. For Lenzing, we've worked on a product called Refibra, where we are actually able to take cotton scraps and make it into a new lyocell fiber. Very active in the denim supply chain, very active in the denim industry is the mill supply chain, where we come up with different solutions and really work on making an impact. And Bosa, who's a part of our discussions, will also highlight that, as well as Candiani, who use Regen, which is using our Refibra product in denim, where they've developed a denim that has no new cotton. And last week at ITMA, this fabric from Candiani, the Regen, actually won the most sustainable innovation award. So I think as an industry, we're really coming together to have the solutions to the problems. We also have global brand initiatives. So NEONYT, who will be a part of the panel discussion later, is one brand, and you see many, especially some of the smaller brands that are gaining a voice in the market around what can be done. So my final slide, what if? And we need to look at the future and what the future might hold. And there's a lot of questions, and it's up to us to make those decisions. So what if we had textile recycling that would look like this, where you would have recycling bins that textiles would be sorted, and we could then be active consumers, just like we have now for recycling bottles and cans and plastic? What if there was even a tax on garments if they couldn't be recycled? And what if government had more input on legislation? And we saw this last year in the United States. There were several states who proposed bills around putting different labeling on garments that had polyester that would then have to be hand washed. I mean, I don't know what the answers are to these questions, but definitely these are ways that we might be able to reduce our impact. I think also we need to look differently at how countries are measured or companies are measured. Do we have to be measured on net sales and net profit, or could we be measured more on sustainability? Do countries need to only be measured on gross domestic production, or could it be about how much recycling is being done? So every season, I think this is the beauty of our business in apparel, is that we have an opportunity to change. We have an opportunity to make a decision about what products are being offered to consumers and to make that change. And we know it's not going to be leaps and bounds, but we can make small steps each season. So that is a conclusion, and we'll start with our discussion and welcome your additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia.